Good day, everyone. This is Pine Leaf Noodles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and on the tabletop. Please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Dracula.
Hey now, everybody. How's it going tonight?
Hello, Drac. You know what episode this is?
150. Also happens to coincide with the 3rd year anniversary of the site as well.
Yay!
So we have actually made it 3 years and 150 episodes.
And they haven't shut us down yet.
That's right. Shockingly, we're still on the air.
Right. And also, please welcome our special guest for today, community manager from Standing Stone Games, Cordovan.
Hello, how's it going? Appreciate you having me on. It's nice to be here.
And thank you for coming here.
Yep, and I muted your stream just in time.
You probably did the same thing I did because I forgot to do that on my end too. And I was like, oh, gotta mute that.
Yep.
Let's then head into our game news because we actually have some this week. And that is we have Update 36 Patch 2.
Also known as the We Fixed the Mimic Hunt patch.
We fixed the Mimic.
It was planned ahead of time, but definitely the Mimic stuff made the most sense to get out right away. So,
yeah, that pretty much made up the bulk of the patches. And I know last week we talked about the Mimic Hunt, and we talked about how the Mimics were a tad bit overpowered, and that was by accident.
Oh, you mean I wasn't intentionally... it wasn't intentional that I was almost killed during the Miller's debt quest?
Maybe.
When a pair of mimics came.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, they were basically, they had boss settings on, and so we basically just had to, dial it back a little bit to be like, how about we make this an event that's a little less punishing and a little bit more fun? Let's push that fun button a couple of times. See how that works out.
And what that means in English speak is Mimics in the Mimic Hunt now have significantly weaker stats compared to other Mimics. All Mimic hit points have been reduced by 20%, and the Mimic physical damage has been reduced by 20% as well. And the Acid Slobber no longer scales with hard and elite difficulty. That's where I was having the problem, is I was getting that Mimic Slobber, and it was just tearing me up. But that is now fixed. But, of course, the event is over today, I think? Tomorrow?
Yes. Yep, shut off this morning.
Yeah, okay. So, yes.
Yep.
So, when it comes back around again, it'll be fixed.
Yep, and the intention is to bring it back approximately quarterly, something like that. We do have a few more things we're going to have to work on the Mimic Hunt. There was an exploit that reared its head, and we will need to address that before we bring it back. But for the most part, the intention is to release the Mimic Hunt approximately every quarter. It's actually, with the players' news here, you guys are familiar more so than some others with Lord of the Rings Online, and in some ways the Mimic Hunt is intended to be a little bit like Popnanigans.
Okay, I was thinking it was more like the treasure hunt.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, since they're both treasure related. So I was thinking of the treasure hunt, but yeah, Popnanigans or...
And then also in the patch, Elite and Epic Elite Quivers of Poison no longer have the incorrect descriptions. And Abishai from the Trials of the Archon, Trials, potato, Trials of the Archon quest have had their spell power reduced significantly to match like-leveled enemies. And that was our hot thing.
Yeah, and we do have a patch coming up as well. I was actually, while we're putting this together, I was trying to figure out if I had any notes I could pass along. Unfortunately, I don't think I do. But we do have another patch potentially in the works. I could say it might theoretically happen this week, but probably not.
All right. And it looks like this is stuff that's going to be related. Some of the stuff is related to Ravenloft?
Well, I think there's actually a conversation happening right now. We are going to do another patch. That'll be a formal update 36 patch 3. And that is going to have some of the Night Revels update in there, along with some of the Ravenloft kind of back end and things getting ready for our pre-purchase. But we also, I think, have been talking about potentially doing a hot fix this week to correct and issue that forced us to make the DDO store external over the weekend. And I think, I can't remember if they were going to try to fit something into that as well, but at the very least, it might be that happening maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday.
I was going to bring up that DDO store thing if you wanted to talk about that a little more exactly. Can you tell us exactly what's going on with that? Why you had to move it back into an external browser?
Sure. So what happened is when we brought the DDO store back internal to the game client with an option to make it external, that happened in update 36 patch 2, right? And then we did our hotfix last week, but there was unfortunately an issue that didn't come up when we released the patch that reared its head with the hotfix, which is that behind the scenes it wasn't pulling down the right DDO browser helper.exe file, which is sort of the internal web browser. So what would happen is people might get off sync in their game clients. They try to open up the DDO store and it wouldn't work. They try to open it up externally and it wouldn't work as well because the core exe that runs that thing was out of date in some cases. So we have a fix in place that'll basically kind of force update that to be the correct version of it. And like I say, we're tentatively targeting this week for it. But in the meantime, because a few too many people were having an issue where they were just getting a black screen and unable to use the store at all, we could temporarily correct that by essentially rolling it back to just be an external store only for now while we did this fix, and that'll solve the problem. And we were able to do that because we were able to run a command essentially without bringing the worlds down. And so we did that on, I guess it was, Friday?
Yeah, I think that's when I read it on the forums.
Yeah. But so hopefully that should be a pretty temporary thing. But right now the DDO store does work for everybody again, and we're working to bring it back internally as well. And hopefully that'll be potentially even this week.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about concerning U36 patch 3 before we go on?
Not really. We are going to have some well, you can actually see some of that on Lamania. I guess I should mention that as well. Lamania, you can currently see the ASMR. You can currently see the cosmetic pets. I know DDO Players News put up a series of videos about that. But for those of you interested, I think we are going to be doing one more Lamania push, and so players can get one more chance to check that out in our preview environment if you're curious. But it is a big spoiler as well, so if you don't want to be spoiled, well, you don't have to. But if you want to see this stuff, that'll be happening probably this week as well, perhaps even as soon as tomorrow. Tuesday.
Very well. Then let's head into those preview videos that Drac had posted, and we'll begin with the ASMR character creation, and it looks like you spent some time going through everything you can do in order to make that character.
I did. I wanted to make sure. And then I do want to point out that after I posted that video, I noticed that Sev posted on the forums that the hairstyles for the ASMR were not included in that Lamania build. Do you know if they're going to be included in the updated build or not?
I don't know, but I suspect the answer to that would be yes. I think that's part of the reason why we're doing another build is to basically just get another round of iteration on this stuff. You know, the artists were working on the hairstyles as we were putting together the last Lamania preview, so it wasn't ready to really have that work be integrated yet. But I'm pretty sure that work is largely done now. So my guess is it'll be in this next update. Lamania.
As I was going through them, I'm like, now, I know it's been a while since I created a character, but I'm not noticing any new hairstyles. And I did mention that a couple times in the video. And then after I posted the video, I seen on the forum said, I wasn't crazy. There was no new hairstyles in that.
Sometimes I can get a little confused between what's available on our internal dev client and what's on Lamania.
I'm sure. Probably, yeah.
Sure. On Lamania, did you have mouth and nose options? Because if not, that should be in as well.
See a few, and none of them looked like they were new either. So
okay.
The only big thing I noticed was the glow effect that you could have on your face. That was in there, and that was new. But yeah, as far as hair, mouth, and nose, I didn't notice anything, and eyes, I didn't really notice anything new either. So
right.
Hopefully, new build,
it's happening.
Be included.
It just has to, that's the whole point of kind of a iterative preview cycle is not everything gets in So.
And then I did have a question about the ASMR. Right now, as it was on Lamania, that the base traits were +1 to charisma and +1 to wisdom. Do you know if that's still how it's going to be?
No, I don't.
Because I know there was some talk on the forums about that too.
Right. The reason I don't know is that the person who would make that call was not in the office today, but I suspect we may have an answer to that this week. Okay. There had been some suggestion about having +2 wisdom rather than +1 wisdom, +1 charisma, and I think that we're not entirely opposed to that, so I think we'll just have to have a discussion about that and perhaps do that. In 3.5, it's technically +2 wisdom and +2 charisma, but we really can't have a +4 stat race in the game because it would perhaps be a bit of an issue because we don't have any others that are like that. So,
and then the other video, we had the cosmetic outfits, helms, and the pets. And once again, you can watch this video if you want. It is spoilerish. If you want to be surprised, don't watch it. So I'm going to give a little spoiler warning right now because I am going to talk about these a little bit. So if you don't want to know, just fast forward about a minute or so, and then you won't be spoiled.
Where's the fast forward? No.
Exactly. Finally, step away from your headphones for a while. Coming with Ravenloft, and it's going to be in select Ravenloft expansion bundles. And, of course, we don't know anything about that unless Cordovan wants to tell us something about that right now.
Sorry, I can't.
I tried. I tried, folks. I tried.
It will include Ravenloft.
And probably a vampire, just guessing.
Yes.
The select bundles, you're going to get the Vampire Hunter outfit, and that will include the outfit and a hat, and then the Barovian Noble outfit and hat. And I did show those off. I am in total love with the Vampire Hunter outfit. It looks so super sweet. And as I said in the preview video I did, it reminded me of something Van Helsing would wear. Because it just kind of had that look, so I'm sure that's kind of the look the artists were going for when they made it, so they did a great job on those. And you can see that full outfit in the video. And then as far as the 2 new cosmetic pets, there is a black cat and a raven, which makes complete sense for Ravenloft.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I guess I could mention, you asked a little bit about the upcoming Ravenloft expansion. In the Update 36 Patch 3 preview notes on Lamania, Kokomajobo does mention that the ASMR will be free to VIPs and available in all Ravenloft expansion bundles and at a later date in the DDO store. And then when it comes to the Vistani Knife Fighter, it will be available in select but not all Ravenloft expansion bundles, and at a later date in the DDO store, and as well be able to be earned from favor attainable in Ravenloft content on a per-character basis. So I guess I could confirm, that those 2 things are as stated on the Lamania preview notes.
And in the chat, DDO Central's asking, do you know if there's going to be an iconic version of the ASMR race?
Oh, God. So, technically I'm not supposed to answer this question until tomorrow.
Oh.
But the answer should be known tomorrow. I can't. I'm sorry. It's one of those times where the calendar is just being a jerk.
So there you go. Wait until Tuesday. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, the podcast version, you already know the answer because we have time traveled after tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
Confusing, but it makes sense.
Oh.
And then the final video that we did, of course, is the new permanent Gold Seal hireling that is coming, and that is a Scarecrow, and that will be a level 10 and a level 30. So I took a look what that looked like. It kind of showed off some combat, but keep a note in the combat, the version that was up on the Lamania build that I was on, he did not have a stat yet, so it was technically a level 1 Scarecrow.
Yeah.
So his fighting style and everything might change a little bit, but I did show him fighting a little bit.
All right. So he would have been singing "If I Only Had a Brain" then, because one type.
Yeah, probably. But cool looking little hireling though, so I liked it. So yeah, and then again, it fits the Ravenloft theme, so well done on that.
Yeah, but I think if we're going to time travel with all the spoiler stuff, then I'd have thought that it would have been better to use the River Song version of your spoiler Message.
Nice.
Nice Doctor Who reference, Pineley. Well played, sir. Well played.
Let's head to the DDO Chronicle, issue 253, where we have a dwarf on the front.
I was shocked it wasn't a drow this week.
Yes.
Well, it's a drow versus dwarves, in the minds of Tetiamar.
Yeah.
True. Very, very true. In our community spotlight, entering the Hall of Fame is the Swim Cleric build.
What?
Yep.
I knew Pine Leap was going to say, what is that?
Yeah, this dates back, what's up, 2011, 2012, something like that, where we had a competition between the Swim Cleric and the Life Bard.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Old school, but yeah, so check it out. And I bet that build would still probably work today. It's of course, it's more of a amusing, fun type build than it is, I would say, more of a practical build. But hey, it works. Lagan has created some mobile wallpapers, so check those out. Always cool to get some wallpapers for your phone. And then, not to be outdone, just in time for Halloween, Desandris has a zombie cleric build. And I got to look at this because I'm going to actually make a cleric, so I'm going to have to look at this zombie cleric build. I haven't actually looked at it yet.
Yeah, I haven't either, actually. It's pretty interesting. We're in the middle of kind of a hot time for clerics and favored souls because of all the patchwork for the domains and what have you. So the idea of doing an undead cleric really hasn't crossed my mind, but it's cool.
And then moving along into the fan site news section of our Chronicle, we got a shout out last week for finding the dreaded ham mimic. DDO Cast continues its DDO Kasplat series on Twitch. And once again, I think I say this every time I talk about this. If you have not watched DDO Kasplat, watch it. It is a blast to see them go through Reaper and usually die most of the time. But it's very fun, very, very enjoyable deaths every time. And that's the point of the show, actually. So check out DDO Kasplat over on the DDO Cast Twitch page. Speaking of DDO Cast, they are turning back the clock in their latest episode. What that was is they had a debates episode, and one of their questions was, if you could go back and change one design decision about DDO, what would it be? So check out the answers to that. Mickey is still doing her raid. She is in week 45. And Even Note got her 99th creature companion.
It's actually up to 101 now.
Is it? I was about to say, well, she's got two more she's going to have to get now. 101, that is just insane. Good on you even for even attempting to do that.
She has every creature companion available in the game except for the Reaperlings because she just hasn't earned enough Reaper XP yet.
Give her time. I'm sure that'll be coming.
Oh, yeah. She's a guildie, so I'll probably be dying in a bunch of those Reaper rings.
To help with the cause. There you go. And then DDO As She Is Played takes place every Wednesday, so check that out. That is a fun stream to watch as well. And Ozzy has no rest for the restless. Go over and watch Ozzy run that content. We have our Chronicle comment of the week, of course. If a dice falls on the ground, does it need to be re-rolled?
I went for a controversial one.
You did.
Oh, boy.
I am going to say, see, here's the approach. On the one hand, the answer is obviously not, because as long as it lands on a face, you can just look at the face and get the die roll. But maybe the mitigating factor is, do you need to be able to see the face at the table in order to make that determination, right? And is everyone expected to get up from the table and walk, to whatever corner of the room it landed and then gaze at the die? Or are you going to trust your players? Draculetta, are you going to trust your players' die rolls?
Heck no!
Yep. So that's why I think the answer is yes. You do have to reroll it.
See, my house rule is this. See, I have a house rule for this. It depends on your flooring. If it's carpeting, it absolutely has to be re-rolled because dice will not roll well on carpet. If it's hardwood or cement, as long as myself as the DM can see the dice, I will let it go. But I have to actually see it hit the ground and see it bounce and roll, and it has to be on hardwood or cement. If it's carpet, you're going to re-roll it on the table.
That's pretty good. That's a good compromise. I kind of like that house rule. Yeah.
In any case, if it's not landing in its designated spot, such as the dice tray I'm aiming for, it's being re-rolled.
Well, see, it's all a moot point if you're using a dice tray.
Now, the next thing is, are you checking your player's die for balancing issues? Are you putting it in a cup of salt water and seeing if it floats evenly or not? That's how you know you've got a real DM who's, out for blood.
That's right. You sit down at the table. I'm going to need everybody's D20s in this glass right now. Thank you very much.
We're going to check them for random integrity.
And finally, in our Karatical, we have the official screenshot of the week, which is the 336th screenshot of the week. And this one is from Cronkius. He wonders what ancient building holds for him. And the answer is mummy rot, sir. Lots and lots of mummy rot.
True.
And I just think, though, that what if you asked him to hand it to you so you could check how well it floats and that they're using gunmetal dice?
Ooh. That's true.
Ooh, that's a good point. Didn't think about that.
Yeah. Let's head into our store sales. And are they selling dice this week?
Sadly, no. But there is some good stuff. There is the Mirrors of Glamoring, the Bypass Timers, Cosmetic Outfits, hats, and helmets, all at 20% off in the DDO store this week. And our free sample of the week is a Lesser Slayer count boost with the coupon code VAMPSLAY. VAMPSLAY, and I take offense to that code, just saying.
This is one of those absolutely you have to take this one free codes, because who couldn't use a Slayer count boost for free, right?
Oh, heck yeah. This. I love it when these are the free samples. Not too sure about that vanity code this week, but I'll let it slide.
Now, are we good? Because I remember with Lotro, we were getting a large number of more codes after the Mordor launch. Does this mean we could expect a number of Vamp codes over the last couple of months?
It's Quartermaster U usually that comes up with these, so I'm going to say the answer is probably yes. We'll probably have a whole bunch of Vampire and
Raven, yeah.
Yeah.
Loft, Blood,
Probably a Boo or two.
Hey, there you go.
Then let's head into our site news, and we'll begin with the history of Ravenloft in Dungeons and Dragons. And I think that is something that Drac knows quite a bit about.
Well, I suppose I would say I have an unnatural fascination with Ravenloft. We'll put it nicely. We'll put it that way. I just thought this would be the perfect time to put it up because I know maybe a lot of new players have never heard of Ravenloft, which I've actually know of a few people. I've seen some people on Twitter, and I've seen a few people when I've been watching some streams or whatever. People are like, Ravenloft? What's Ravenloft? So I just thought this would be a good time to go back and just go through the complete history of Ravenloft, and I just kind of talked about where it started, some of the highlights from some of the modules, when they came out, what was special about them, because usually each time Ravenloft made an appearance in Tabletop D&D, they either added something new to it or they brought a new boss or a new monster or something. So it was just a fun little thing I decided to put together, and people seem to like it, so. If you were ever curious about where Ravenloft started, why it started, and all about it, you can go over to DDO Players and check out the article.
Especially the first edition Ravenloft, it was largely, a lot of people, when you say name a D&D module, if you've played D&D, a lot of people will kind of naturally say Keep on the Borderlands or Tomb of Horrors. Probably Tomb of Horrors more often than not. But oftentimes Ravenloft comes out on top as the best original Dungeons and Dragons module.
Yeah, and I even mentioned that in the article, that every time you do see those, these are the top 10 greatest modules of all time, or the top 20, or top insert whatever number here, you are right. Ravenloft usually on all of those is either at the number 1 spot or the number 2 spot, which it's well deserved. The I6 original module was pretty amazing and pretty groundbreaking at the time. There was really nothing like that in D&D at the time I6 came out.
Yeah, because if you think a lot of the original first edition modules, they were advanced dungeon crawls, and they'd have plot and that sort of thing. But the idea of a antagonist who pursues you throughout the adventure, it really hadn't been done previously. That combined with, sort of the random card mechanics and things like that really, was really groundbreaking.
Right.
And it's got that classic module cover by Clyde Caldwell.
And you seem to track everything throughout history.
Yep, I go from I6 all the way up to the Curse of Strahd that just came out for 5e last year.
And I even see a board game in there.
Yeah, I even threw in the Castle Ravenloft board game because it's an awesome board game if you've not played it.
I haven't.
Oh, then this is a good time for anything you have to say about the 3rd anniversary or the 150th episode?
Just, it's like amazing to me that I didn't realize until I just noticed that the 150th episode was this week, and then I kind of looked and I'm like, wow, we've been doing this 3 years already. And it's to me, it's kind of awesome because a little bit of insider baseball for you. I don't know if people will care about this or not, but when this site first started, Ann Dang, who at the time was the lead director of the Players Alliance, which we are a member of with Lotro Players, he was the lead director of that, and he approached me because I was on the Lotro Players News podcast, and he said, I know you're really into D&D, and I know you're playing DDO. And he wanted at that time to start branching the Players Alliance out to cover more games. And he said, would you have any interest in doing a DDO site? And I'm like, sure, that would be awesome. I could do that. And then he's like, well, cool, you're going to run it. I'm like,
Nice.
Surprise.
oh. Well, you didn't tell me that.
Ending.
Yeah, exactly. So I got stuck with this site. And it, of course, from day one, it was just all Dungeons & Dragons Online, all DDO. You may have noticed I slowly started sneaking more like, let's talk about D&D Tabletop 5e. Let's talk about some board games. And now it's kind of morphed into this like conglomerate of DDO, pen and paper, role-playing, tabletop, video games, and pretty much all thing geek, because I tend to put some articles up that are just like more geek related than like gaming or anything related. But somehow in a weird way, this weird conglomeration thing worked, and people really seem to like it.
The way I kind of think of it is it's sort of a podcast about things that are of interest directly to the DDO community, because a lot of us are, tabletop players and pen and paper players and that. And nothing you really do on this podcast completely falls out of that line. So
yeah, and I think that's why it works so well, and I do know there are some people that were like, well, I only listen to the first half of the podcast when you talk about DDO, and then I don't listen to the rest of it because I don't care about that tabletop stuff. And that's cool. But the cool thing is I do know of 2 people that are playing now that had never heard of DDO, but they have came to the site for our board game tabletop coverage, and then they started reading the stuff and listened to the podcast, and they heard us talk about DDO, and they're like, that sounds kind of cool. I want to check that out. It kind of works both ways, and it just worked well, and it's great. And like I said, people have been great about. People have loved it. We have got some negative. Like I said, there are a few people that are like, why do you talk about all these board games? But but it's just, you said it. It's kind of everything we talk about. I think if you're like a tabletop fan, if you're a D&D fan, if you're a DDO fan, this is all going to kind of be in your wheelhouse, and you should find some interest in it. So it's just great. And I just want to thank everybody for all their support over the 3 years. I never would have imagined when I just said yes and then found out I was going to have to run the site that it would become of what it became, today. And now
the hunter has become the hunt, or the hunted has become the hunter. You are now in charge.
Yes, I was going to say, now I am in charge of the whole Players Alliance network, and I am in charge of this site and Lotro Players and the Players Alliance network, which we're always looking for new sites and podcasts. So if you have a podcast and a site that is semi-game related or anything related, shoot me an email and we'll talk. I think we need to talk to Cordovan about Extra Life, because he just kicked off his Extra Life, which he is taking up the reins for Sapiens over on Lord of the Rings. That if you are familiar with the Lotro Extra Life, that was a big part of what Sapiens did for Lotro, and it looks like Cordovan is taking up the reins for that. So
yeah, right. This is my second year doing Extra Life, and again, this is mostly for the Lord of the Rings online audience, although, of course, any DDO players are welcome to donate as well. It's extra-life.org/team/LotroStream, and this Friday we're doing, like a 9 a.m. all the way through the entirety of Saturday live stream to benefit Extra Life. And we're also doing similar to what we do on the DDO side with Movember. So I have actually, just because I kicked this off today, I had a couple people ask again, hey, are you doing Movember again too? And the answer is yes. Typically, I try to do Extra Life in October and Movember and November. And so kind of similar to what you see happening here for Extra Life, you'll be seeing in the DDO community, hopefully within probably sometime around the early part of November.
I was going to ask you about Movember, so.
Yep. That's why I deliberately choose to have an ugly mustache and raise money for a good cause, which is, colorectal cancer research, things like that. Extra Life donates money to the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. And if you donate to me in particular, it'll go to the Boston Children's Hospital. But if you donate to any member of the Lotro Stream team, it goes to whatever they've designated as their local children's hospital. But it's all about helping kids, helping sick kids.
And then you said that stream is Friday?
Yep, Friday starting at 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/LotroStream.
And I will add that in the show notes so everybody can find that easily. And then I guess the next thing, let's talk about the elephant that's in the room, Ravenloft.
What's that?
Never heard of it. What is this Ravenloft you speak of? We know the stuff that's been on the Mania. Is there anything else? I already tried to pry the pre-order information out of you. I didn't succeed with that. Is there anything else?
There is. For the 150th episode, we have been able to get a couple of really nice renders. These are high-resolution renders from our artist computers. So, they will look a little different when they're in the game itself, being rendered through the game engine. But through our World Builder render, we have got a couple of pictures of Strahd that we can show you.
And in the chat room for the people that are live right now. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, you can see them on the screen. And then if you listen to the podcast version of this, they'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, you'll see them on the site, that sort of thing. And this is the first time we've really kind of, peeked the curtain back a little bit as to how we're envisioning Strahd in DDO. So it's pretty exciting times. And you will see, a whole lot more in the relatively near future here. Not this week, I can tell you that, but soon. I hate to use that word, but it'll be real soon that we'll have a whole lot more info about Ravenloft in terms of the pre-purchase packages, and all the rest is coming real quick here. Not this week, but real quick.
Soon TM. And okay, DDO Central saying they're working now. I'm going to say it first. I guess they weren't working, but
I think it was just a copy paste with the dots rather than the.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So that is awesome, and we appreciate you doing that. But wow, I was excited for Ravenloft and the whole Strahd thing before, but now after seeing these, I'm super psyched now, and I appreciate you guys actually letting us share these. That is amazing.
And you can see one of them. Two of them are Strahd in his more human form, and then one is more of his vampiric form.
Which I love the fangs. That's great how you did that. So those are awesome. And as you said, that's actually what he looks like in the world builder that you use.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we make high-res versions of all the models on that, and they get filtered down and all that sort of thing into the game. So, you won't quite see this level of detail, in DDO. But he does look really, really good in DDO as well.
And Gumsgang in the chat is saying the one with him, the wine glass kicking back, that is me doing my DM thing. My players might say I do look like that sometimes. How am I going to kill you today? And then we did have a question in the chat about Ravenloft. DDO Central is asking, is there a final count for the number of quests in Ravenloft?
We haven't yet announced that, but we do. It's going to be pretty darn big. We've got, I guess it'll be similar to our other expansions where we'll have several full-size adventure packs worth. We do have 2 raids coming, and I don't know if I want to commit to a number on the wilderness area or areas, but because it gets a little weird with Ravenloft in particular. But we also have basically wilderness areas as well.
And you can't say how many of those there'll be?
Well, see, I can give a number. I think we're calling it 2 wilderness areas, but I don't know if players would consider it 2 because, for those of you who know, like Ravenloft, that you could have like kind of Barovia blending into a different area, and is it misty or is it not misty and things like that. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure how the nomenclature is going to work yet, but yes, we have wilderness areas.
Awesome. And then we did have some questions. I put a post up over on the DDO subreddit, and we had some questions from there. So I will ask a few of these. And then if anybody else in the chat room has a question, feel free to ask, and we'll ask in just the standard what he can answer,
DDO Central, the most important question, is there gypsy violin music in the soundtrack? I mean, it's not that ethnic specific, but yes, we do have violin music in the soundtrack.
Then, can you ask about the wisdom to hit and damage tree? I remember there being talk about a universal tree that this would be implemented in, not just a tree of favored soul. Very curious to see what's going on there.
I unfortunately am not sure where that came about, that the wisdom to hit and damage tree would be a universal tree. I'm not aware of that. We do have wisdom to hit and damage in the gnome. Yeah, not like a universal tree like similar to Harper or Vistani Knife Fighter that's coming, here with Ravenloft. No. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure where the rumor on that one started, though, unfortunately. So if we said it by accident on a live stream, if we use the word universal enhancement tree rather than enhancement tree, then that's our fault, and that's on us. And I apologize for that. But as far as I'm aware, we don't have any plans to have a universal wisdom to hit and damage tree.
And then deletes everything. I love that username. Ask, why did they give Favored Soul straight HP and spell point per level instead of casting speed buff or another unique mechanic?
That's probably a question more for the designer, but I would say in general, I can talk a little bit about it. Attack speed and casting speed, we have to be careful how much we throttle that up. Clearly, our attack speed, for those of you who have been playing DDO for a long time, will know that attack speed has kind of skyrocketed in recent years and become a very, very core part of the kind of metagame for Dungeons & Dragons Online. And so I think we would want to be careful not to jack up the Favored Soul casting speed too much. In terms of why hit points or spell points per level, it's really just a matter of making them more competitive. The extra, Favored Soul already had a lot of spell points, but now they really can get a lot of spell points, which lends to the idea of a Favored Soul having a deep spell point pool, but a more limited spell point selection, whereas a cleric has a more wide spell selection, but a more limited spell point pool. So I guess the design of that is just really to kind of mimic that for the modern day gameplay. And in terms of hit points, it's really just a matter of everyone needs more hit points. So, and Favored Soul, can now compete a little more friendly with clerics in terms of the hit point totals as they level up because of this.
And then another question that gets asked, I think, every time we have a Q&A with you, I think a question similar to this is asked. The Arpin Dragon is asking TR bank functions like search feature and maybe a way to improve bank capacity for the BTC/raid items.
Just to be clear, there is no such thing as a TR bank. There's a TR cache, which is used by players erroneously as long-term storage.
I think everybody does that.
Yes, we understand. So it's a little facetious. But the answer to that is no, we're unlikely to do things that would further using the TR as a bank. We would rather, it's more likely that we would want to get rid of the TR cache and then take that kind of space and do something else with it. Although, to be very clear, we're not planning to do that. So no, we probably are not going to be having a search feature for the TR cache or additional bank functions for it. What we are going to do, and this is was this in patch 2 or is it coming in patch 3? I think it's coming in patch 3, right? Where we sort of bulletproof the reincarnation system. Let me check our Lamania release notes real quick. Like I say, sometimes things get flexible.
And then once again, anybody in the chat, if you have a question, feel free to ask.
Yes. Okay, so in Update 36, Patch 3, which we are tentatively planning to release perhaps sometime next week. Next week. Changes are being made in the way a player's inventory and bank are moved to the true reincarnation cache during reincarnation. The process occurs upon first login after a reincarnation. It's now more resilient against disconnects that occur at this time. If there's a problem and it detects that items were lost, a message will be displayed in the chat window at login, and customer service will have additional tools to identify and restore items lost in the process after Update 36 Patch 3 goes live. So this unfortunately will not help customer service deal with previous reincarnation issues, but going forward it will. So we're really bulletproofing the system where we put the moving your items into a TR cache in a more logical manner that helps bulletproof it, and then also giving customer service more tools to be able to deal with it. So that is what's happening for the TR cache. The other thing, though, that ARP and Dragon probably meant was maybe a way to improve bank capacity. That would be personal character bank. We had intended to move the personal character bank to a system similar to the shared bank, what we call a barter UI. It's sort of it's kind of an internal development term rather than sort of an external one. But the barter UI is essentially the list view where you've got, the vertical slots rather than, say, an icon-based, box that you're putting all your stuff in. Does that make sense to you? But the problem is we had a lot of negative feedback from the community because they like to organize the character bank by icon with tabs, and we would have largely removed those tabs from the shared bank UI. It would have been like the shared bank UI. And so we pulled back on that effort, but we can't offer more character bank space on the old tab system because of the data footprint that it holds. Basically what happens is when you load in your character at the first time on login, it has to load everything from your character bank. And there's a data cost essentially associated with that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So we've really pushed that to as far as we can take it. And so we can't really offer more bank capacity under the old tab system, but we really haven't been able to win people over on a more functional barter UI system. So I think the long term what we're going to have to do is kind of go back to the drawing board and create a shared bank system that will meet the needs that people want for their character bank. But frankly, that's going to be a lot of work. And so we had to push it off down the road beyond Ravenloft and that sort of thing.
And we do have a few more questions, so anybody in the chat room, feel free, and then we're going to move on with the rest of the show. But Strim Tom is asking, is there any time we would be able to get Standing Stones Games merchandise? I know that they can't do DDO merchandise due to the WotC license, but some SSG merchandise would be sick, and I'd wear that T-shirt.
We've thought about it.
And I would wear that T-shirt
about it. I guess it really just sort of depends because the trick is volume, right? Ultimately, if we want to do it in a way that's cost effective for both us and for the people buying the shirts, we have to make a lot of them. And I'm not sure that we would sell that many, but maybe we would. My personal thinking is we probably would. There may be some other people involved in the process who are like, I don't know, man, are we really going to sell, X thousand of these things, right?
I bet you would.
So it could happen. It very much might happen at some point. I don't know whether the solution would be to kind of go to kind of one of the modern day sort of apparel retailers where you can get it like on, mugs, plates, mouse pads, tats, right, whatever, yeah. Just kind of do that and do the logos that way. Those tend to be a little more expensive, but it offers flexibility and sort of lets them deal with all the processing and shipping and all that sort of thing. Or whether we would actually take it upon ourselves to contract with some kind of, physical retailer to basically make, print, and ship the shirts. So I don't know quite how that would work out, but it's something we've considered. And we've also, it's like, well, if we're going to do that, let's maybe do that for Lotro too. But, it's just a matter of making all the pieces fall into place, and they just haven't happened yet.
But would there ever be a day that you think you could see WotC allowing you to do, like, DDO branded merchandise? Like, maybe do, like, a Militia shirt or...
Probably not. So
Or like a plushie, hint, hint.
I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm wrong on this, and I apologize to both anyone seeing some games and WotC and that if I am wrong. But my understanding is that Wizards of the Coast has merchandising licenses that they give out to, the people who make their physical products for D&D T-shirts, that kind of thing. Right. And it would be up to that licensor to want to do a DDO shirt. And so it would really be on them to initiate the process and then take care of it that way. But I'm not sure, again, that the numbers quite add up. So I think that's why it really hasn't happened yet.
And then 2 more questions, unless you had more on that. You said
no, that's really about it. We do have some that we can, make for, say, conventions and giveaways, things like that. And we've thought about, things that we could do, but it's complicated on the DDO side.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I can't imagine the legal wrangling that has to be sought through to do any of that.
Yeah.
Stinger AE asks, first and foremost, when are they going to make Mithrie happy and fix the cold spells?
I don't know. Before Linabelle left her internship this summer, I sicked her on it to try to do it, and she wanted to do it too. And we were able to fix it for a couple areas, but unfortunately we were not able to just sort of bring it back universally. So, back in, I guess it would be the Update 36 notes or whatever, that we had a few of those that we were able to do, but we were not able to just universally bring back the shatter effect on all cold spells. I can say that it really does have to do, the decision to get rid of them had to do with reducing lag, because they are fairly, and it's not really lag, it's actually more of a game engine chunkiness. It's at some point it's not so much lag as it is the game engine just struggles to deal with all the stuff. But I think we'd frankly be in a position nowadays where we could get away with it. But I'm not sure. I don't know. Nonetheless, we weren't able to just make that happen. So I'm sorry, Mithrie. I did my best. It may be a while.
And then another question he had was, you had previously mentioned that you want to actually do level 28 Cove items. How soon is that going to be? His bard really needs a level 28 buckler.
Yes, we do want to do level 28 Cove items. And the way the process works is we're like, well, we need to bring, we're going through a calendar or something for 2018, and we're saying, okay, we're going to put Crystal Cove in. Oh, man, we really need to do level 28 items for Crystal Cove. Yeah, we should do that. And then it's just a matter of fitting it into the development process. So we definitely want to do it. And I do think it is going to happen. But I don't want to commit the dev team to something before they're willing to commit to it. My hope would be that we would get it done next year, but there's no promises on that.
And then the final question we had from the DDO subreddit is from DD Day Throwaway 3. What plans are there for an iconic completionist? What's the next iconic race we'll see in the game?
That might be related to the thing I can't talk about until tomorrow.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Thought maybe we might slip you up, but you're good. You were good, sir. You were good.
I have not heard of plans for an iconic completion. Sorry.
And then I'll give one last shot for people in the chat room. Any questions? I'll give time for the slight delay that we have. And then if not, we can move on Pine Leap, and I'll come back.
Anyway, the answer to what is the next iconic race you'll see in the game, it depends where you are and when you log in. But don't bump. See?
I see what you did there. All right, we can go on, Pine Leap.
Let's see what's coming in from the dungeon.
Wait. I have a tease of my own.
Well, I thought you would go right into it if you wanted to do it now.
Oh, I see. You see, Cordoban's not the only one that can tease. I can tease as well. For our 150th episode and our 3-year anniversary, we are going to have 2 giveaways over on the site. They are going to be starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you are listening live, that will be Tuesday morning, October the 10th at 10 a.m. If you are listening to the podcast version of this, these giveaways are live. We are going to have 4 giveaways for 500 DDO points. So those are going to be codes that I will send you for 500 points, and you can enter all 4 of those if you would like. It's going to be done by Rafflecopter, so it's all going to be RNG. And then the other one, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're just going to have to find out tomorrow. I will give you a hint. It may or may not involve a jungle. That's all I'm going to say.
Involve a jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be, once again, tomorrow, if you're listening live, 10 a.m. The post will go up, and we are using a raffle copter widget. I can speak, really, I can. So
it's a
you'll
copy of Pitfall for the Intellivision, isn't it?
Oh, man, see? Oh, now I got to come up with a new giveaway.
And for those of you who are saying, Pitfall was through the Atari, yes, but it was also released for the Intellivision.
And it was better on the Intellivision. Ooh,
No, it wasn't.
Oh, see, I think it was. The Atari 2600 version was pretty dope, but the Intellivision, see, and that is the first version of Pitfall I ever played.
Those are fighting words.
I'm sure they are. I can't wait till later in the show to hear your opinion on something else. A tease for later. See, I'm just full of teases. But yes, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., head over to our site. We will have 2 giveaways. One of them will be for the DDO points codes. The other will be for something that I'm not going to tell you what it is.
For something that might involve a jungle.
May or may not involve a jungle.
May or may not involve a jungle.
I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it does not.
Okay, fine. Just don't get eaten by any dinosaurs waiting for it to happen. Let's see what's coming in from the dungeon now, where we have Heavy Metal Thunder Mouse RPG on Kickstarter. That is Heavy Metal Thunder Mouse RPG?
It's just what it sounds like, Pineleaf. You are a mouse. You are a member of a mouse motorcycle gang. You are the Heavy Metal Thunder Mice. Tell me how cool that sounds, Pineleaf. Tell me that does not sound awesome to play a heavy metal biker mouse.
It
Is that licensed?
Doesn't appeal to me in any way whatsoever.
Is that like licensed like Mouse Guard, or is that like a totally different thing?
It's based off of Fate, actually.
Okay.
They took the Fate rules and they basically created a whole world, and these mouse biker gangs are going around this world, and it's using the Fate rules. And it's up on Kickstarter now. It looks pretty amazing, actually. And they are doing fairly well. They are currently sitting at 89% of their goal with, looks like they have 23 days to go as we record this. But yes, that is Heavy Metal Thunder Mice. And I just wanted to hear Pineleaf say that. So my life is complete now for him to say those words and be totally confused about it. My job here is done.
Your job here is done. So therefore, we can go on to what's the Extra Life goals unlocked, where they really like, whenever they get their Extra Life goals, to give us some teasers to what's coming up.
Yes, they do, and they are kicking through their goals rather quickly this year as well. The first one was the 5K goal, and that was an art gallery from the Tomb of Annihilation, which is unlocked. You can find links to these in the show notes as well. The 10K version is a sample list of random encounters from Xanthar's Guide to Everything. 15K goal is the suggested character names from Xanthar's Guide to Everything. And the 20K goal was sample life events for characters from Xanthar's Guide to Everything.
I'm noticing a theme here.
Yes, most of these are from Xanthar's, which that comes out in November, so that's why they're kind of hyping it, because Tomb of Annihilation is already out, so they want to hype Xanthar's. So you can check that out, and they are very, very, very close to the next 25K goal, so stay tuned for that. Once they reach that goal, I will, of course, post about it over on the site.
And I noticed it's going to be some spells that are going to go up.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I want to make sure that I tell you the turtle package is now available as well. And you might be asking yourself, what the heck is a turtle? It sounds exactly what it's like. It's a turtle, but it's not just any turtle. It's a playable race turtle. Turtles are from like way back, I think. I want to say maybe second ed. I can't exactly remember. They were either late first edition or second edition. They were in some little-known adventure. There was a turtle. Well, Chris Perkins and the rest of the WotC team got together and created the turtles as a playable race, and this is available over on the Dungeon Masters Guild for $9.99. All proceeds for this is going to their Extra Life charity drive. So if you want to be a turtle, people are making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 5e now.
Okay. So therefore, it's a cross between a tortoise and a turtle.
Yes.
Or look like the University of Maryland mascot, the Terrapin.
That's you, a Terrapin, yes. But yes, you can create the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 5e now if you get the Turtle package. So if you want to do that, go check it out. And their extra live stream is going to start on October the 28th. They are going to have a short little burstception, and then the big major event is going to be November 3rd and 4th. That's when they're going to do their 24-hour stream.
Let's then see what's on the tabletop, where they have announced the release date for Tomb of Annihilation adventure strategy board game. Finally!
Yeah, finally, it's right. I'm surprised it took them this long. They've been talking about it. They've been telling you a lot about it, but they haven't released the release date until now, and it is soon, very, very, very soon. It will be in your friendly local game store and online retailers on the 18th of October. So not too long to wait. So if you want the Tomb of Annihilation board game, make sure you pre-order from your FLGS, so you can pre-order it like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the online sellers. I know Cool Stuff just had it. Had a pretty decent sale on it, actually. It was, I want to say it was like $59.99 for a couple days, which is not bad because the MSRP is $79 on the standard version. Of course, the pre-painted version is $159. But wow, those minis from that pre-printed version look awesome. But $60, I don't know about that.
Yes, but why is the exclusive code for Neverwinter instead of DDO?
I don't know. But speaking of codes for DDO.
Actually, it's probably because I think Neverwinter is doing some Tomb of Annihilation tie-in, aren't they?
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, they have Tomb of Annihilation going on right now. You can go and Schult and Tomb of the Nine Gods and all that, Neverwinter. But if you watch Maze Arcana on Sundays, which DDO stream is rehosting, they are going to be giving away codes for DDO.
That's true.
Watch those guys. Those guys are awesome.
Specifically watch this Sunday show over on the Maze Arcana site on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Maze Arcana, MazeArcana, and get that code.
Then we not only have it coming up on the tabletop, but we also have it coming up on the screen, and Drac has taken a first look at Tales from Candlekeep, Tomb of Annihilation. And what do you think of it so far?
They did a heck of a job with it. I put a first look video up of it just so you can see some gameplay and kind of a little first peek at the crafting system. I actually have not been able to craft anything yet because I have not got enough drops yet, because basically what happens is you will go around through the storyline and the side quest and you will pick up craftable drops as you're playing. But as you can see from the video I put up, it looks just like the tabletop board game. It feels like you're playing the adventure system board game so much. They did such a good job with this.
Now, I've been watching several of the live streams put out by the company, and yes, I can attest that, where it does look very, very much like the tabletop game and what's going on there, and
it looks like it, and it feels like it. I mean,
it feels like it.
They managed to capture the feel of the adventure system board games.
And that's very important in the matter. So therefore, I'm hoping that we could get a more in-depth look when it's actually released.
We will. We will have a review up soon, and you can purchase it for yourself on Steam starting October 11th. They have announced the official release date for it. That has been kind of just soon and fall is all they were saying. So now they actually did announce it for October the 11th. So make sure you get it added to your Steam wish list. And make sure you order it on October the 11th. Tales from the Candlekeep, Tomb of Annihilation, out on Steam. And our review should be coming either that day or soon after. I'm hoping I can get it up that day.
We'll see what we can... we'll see what you can manage to do. But this is, yes, Tomb of Annihilation. And the question is, of course, how much is it going to cost?
That they have not said yet.
Oh, actually, they have.
Oh, have they?
Yes, they have. They announced during their last live stream that it's going to be $14.95 for the baseline price, but for the first week, it will be discounted 10%.
Well, there you go. See, I missed that live stream and I didn't watch the replay of it. So, see, alas, I am behind in this news. You just told me something I did not know, Pinely.
Oh, boy. That's a real miracle in this show.
Yeah. It's usually the other way around.
So, therefore, yes, I suspect that on Wednesday I shall be making a purchase, so to speak. Then let's head into the Commodore C64 Mini coming next year. And
how freaking amazing is that?
Okay. Did I hear about this before, or is this another attempt at it?
Yeah, see, that's what I was actually trying to figure out myself when I saw this in the show notes, because there was by, I believe, the same company, which is Retro Games Limited out of the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
They had done an Indiegogo in 2016.
This is actually
Commodore 64 Mini.
This is actually it. It's actually going to be available now. They have made enough money off that Indiegogo to where they can actually start getting these made and out into the people's hands that backed it. And then they said they will also be having it up on their site for purchase if you did not back it.
Okay, cool.
And they're also looking at doing a full-size version of the 64 again as well, too. So the Commodore 64 might be making a comeback.
It wouldn't be the old C64 OS, though, or anything, right? It would be like a modern Android, maybe?
See, they didn't clarify that, and I sent them an email, and they kind of dodged that question. They gave me the standard answer, non-answer for that question. So I'm not sure. It sounded like to me that somehow they have licensed the complete 64 Commodore OS is what. That's how I took it. Huh. I don't know if that's the case, but anyway, this is going to run off of an Android, and this is going to be just like if you're familiar with the SNES Classic that was just released and sold out, and you can go on eBay and pay like thousands and thousands of dollars for one, but don't do that. Don't pay the money on eBay for them. This is going to be a plug-and-play system that you plug into your TV, and it is going to have some classic Commodore 64 games on it. It also will have a emulator of the Commodore 64 BASIC, so if you know BASIC, you can program your own games for that, which that is awesome. And it looks just like the Commodore 64. And you can, because it has USB ports on it, so you can plug in a USB keyboard. Because the keyboard, if you're looking at the picture, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, the picture of this is on the screen right now. The keyboard that you're seeing is non-functional. It's just make it to look like a Commodore 64 and it looks cool. The keyboard is non-functional. You can plug in a USB keyboard and you can actually program in the BASIC shell. So if you remember how to program in BASIC, you can make Commodore games on your Commodore 64 Mini. And it comes with a joystick, just like what we used to have back in the day. The Commodore 64 was like my first foray into computers, so this is so awesome to me that this is coming out. And I was looking at the games that this comes with, and I'm like, yeah, that game was all right, that game was all right. And then they had me at Temple of Ashby Trilogy.
Nice.
I spent so much time playing Temple of Ashby, so yes, it'll be on there. So yes, look for this coming early next year.
Actually, that was a trilogy?
Yes, there was 3 games. I think there was a 4th, or maybe they were going to make a 4th, and it never came out. I can't remember. But yes, I remember. I had all 3 on my 64 and played them like constantly. I put so many hours into that game.
Now, of course, I think the other side also wants to have a say, and that is the Atari reveals more details about the upcoming Atari box.
Yes, and I was so happy that this story happened to coincide with Cordobin being on here because, as we know, Cordobin is a big Atari fan.
I am an Atari nerd. That is all there is to it. I only have 3 Atari 2600s at home. Yeah. I'm still missing the Rainbow unit. I've been keeping an eye out for a Rainbow unit. I don't have it. Yes, yeah, that's pretty cool. So really what they're doing, this is the official Atari company, which isn't at all, clearly the same Atari that existed in 77, but is the official Atari there. And they're really doing what amounts to almost like kind of a Steambox style plug-in to your TV. It's supposed to be like a little mini computer for your television, and it's based on Linux.
And
it's really just It's going to have a decent. They talked a little bit about it's got Radeon graphics and powered by an AMD customized processor. They did give speeds on it, but they do say it'll bring a quote full PC experience to your TV and will include streaming, applications, social browsing, that sort of thing. So I think some people are really curious about how it'll be for streaming in that too, because that might be a really nice streaming solution for let's say systems that don't normally stream or what have you. So that could be pretty cool. But overall, we just don't know a lot about
right.
Exactly what the specs are or what kind of games it's going to run, any of that sort of thing.
They did say. Oh, you were probably going to read the same thing I was going to read.
It's your show. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. It'll run mid-range PC games. So DDO, I bet, would run on this. Maybe. Yeah, I'd be curious.
DDO to run on Linux.
I'd be curious if DDO would run it. It did say, of course, it's not going to have the beep and the powerhouse to run like AAA titles. So you're not going to get like Elder Scrolls Skyrim to run on this or anything like that. But anything mid-range would run on it. And
they do say it's going to launch with a, quote, large back catalog of Atari classic games, although they aren't saying whether it's going to be included or whether there would be an additional purchase. One might assume the latter, but,
And I emailed them and didn't hear back from them. Yeah. So I'm hoping, and it's going to be in the price range between $249 and $299 they're looking at.
Yep.
And
they're going to be using Indiegogo, which is similar to what the C64 Mini did, Indiegogo. Yep. And for those who don't know the specifics of that, it's a little inside baseball, but Indiegogo does not have a pass or fail mechanic like Kickstarter does. So one of the things about Indiegogo is if they don't meet their goal, they can still ship product to the people to give them money or what have you, assuming that they can make ends meet or whatever. But it doesn't have a pass or fail mechanic. It's simply kind of we would like to raise X amount of money, but hey, if you give us 250, you've given us 250, right? So.
And 9 Point in our chat is asking, so does having 3 Atari 2600 mean in effect that you really have an Atari 7800?
That's actually really funny. No. Yeah.
That is. That's great.
Yeah.
So, the Atari box coming spring of 2018, and stay tuned. I'll keep you updated. Like I said, I did email them and ask them several questions, one being exactly what games are going to be included. Are they going to be, as you said, on the system itself, like in the form of ROMs that are already there, or is it something you're going to have to download? Are you going to have a marketplace where you can buy more? It's just there's a lot of unanswered questions right now.
So, again, let me take off my SSG hat and put on my Atari nerd hat here. I think one of their biggest challenges is going to be that price point, right? Because right now, what can you buy for $300 that'll hook to your television? You could get a PlayStation 4. You can get an Xbox One.
That's
that sort of thing. And they will run those AAA titles and get you access to YouTube and Netflix and all the rest of that sort of thing. So what is it that the Atari box is going to offer that, say, other competitors who have tried to get, a computer but for your TV space, really hasn't been successful so far, really outside of a few niches. And so it's a little questionable about whether Atari is going to be able to break that trend with the Atari box. They certainly have the style down. I mean, I don't think I haven't heard anybody who doesn't say that thing looks awesome, because it does look awesome.
Right? Yeah, it does.
It's really just going to be a matter of, are they really going to, what would you do with it, and what's compelling that would justify $250 to $300 for it. Nerds like me, I'm in, right? I'm
well,
in, right? Because
it's
got wood grain. That's all I needed to know. But ultimately, if they're going to be successful in a wider way, what is it that they're going to do? I think their hint on streaming might be one of those, because if they can be a good stream box for PC games, like kind of a real easy plug and play where you don't have to mess with OBS or XSplit or any of that other kind of thing, you can just sort of plug in your joystick, boot up whatever Steam or whatever it is they end up using, and then just stream straight to Twitch, YouTube, or what have you. That could be really compelling to some people. But I guess it really just is too many unknowns at this point.
And I wondered if they were going to somehow, if they could work out a deal with Steam to actually make it Steam compatible to where you could, like you said, use it to play your Steam library.
Well, I mean, Steam does offer Linux games, so I guess it really just depends on I don't know what the licensing of all that stuff
Yeah,
is.
exactly. If they could work that out, and so I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, look forward to spring of next year. And like I said, it is going to be an Indiegogo. It's just retro is in right now. Retro is huge. It's like Nintendo started it, and then now everybody is just jumping on the retro bandwagon at this point. But it's cool. It's great because, like nerds like me that grew up with this stuff are like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I want one of those because I want to relive my childhood.
If you can't wait, if you really can't wait, and you have a modern console, they did release the Atari Classics Collections, Volume 1 and 2, for pretty much all the modern consoles and PCs. And they're pretty awesome. And they've got online multiplayer for like old Atari 2600 games. So you can play Combat and what have you, two-player.
What? Didn't know they had online. Really?
Oh, yeah. It's great.
I might have to check that out then.
Let's look at our week in gaming. And Drac, what have you been up to?
Well, I ran on my Wolflock, ran Irestone Inlet again on the magic 5 times number. I wonder why it was 5 times. That's all I'm going to say, especially because Cordovan's here. I just ran that 5 times. I really enjoy that quest. That's why I ran it 5 times.
There's something wrong with running it 5 times.
Yeah, of course. No. I'm going to say that's not a bad thing, I don't think.
No, not at all. No, we're specifically talking about the chest ransack.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. That's
fine for the Mimic. Yeah, that's just in my opinion, that is the easiest and best quest to get chest easily. I'm sure there might be other quests, but for me, Irestone is just an easy quest to run. I fell short of my goal of actually being able to get enough tokens, but I'm just going to save them for the next one, and then I won't have to get too many more, and then I'll be able to get the pets or whatever. I haven't really decided what I want. I know I wanted one of the creeping coin pets, but I thought maybe I wanted one of the robes too, so we'll see. But I am correct that those coins will not go away. You can save your coins,
yes,
and still turn them in. Okay, that's what I thought you had said on one of your weekly Wednesday live streams, but I just wanted to make sure. So then broke out my Pale Master. I haven't played my Pale Master in like forever, and actually ran that with Pine Leaf. I'll let him talk about what we did for that. Then, of course, my level 21 Ranger ran the Mines of Tethiamar, 3 times the Charm, Strike Back, Desire in the Dark. No drops. Seriously. Can we talk about this drop rate, at least for me?
Well, you're running normal, though, aren't you?
Yeah, see, that might be the problem.
That is your problem.
I'm wondering is there that much of a difference between normal and like epic? There is? Yeah. Okay. All right. I
Think about it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Although sometimes it's even 1 times, 3 times, 5 times.
Okay.
Give or take.
Now you got me thinking. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, uh-oh is right. So we'll see about that. And then that was really it for DDO this week. Video game-wise, though, I did play Tales from Mechanical Leap, Tomb of Annihilation. Of course, you saw the video I did. And then look for a full review of that coming soon. Also played Ogre, which is now available on Steam. I did a first look video for that as well. You can check that out.
Was that like the board game Ogre?
It is the board game Ogre.
Whoa.
It's exactly like the board game Ogre. They did a really good job with that, too.
Yeah. But
12-hour runtime and everything?
It could be.
Yeah.
I had one that lasted quite a while. It wasn't quite 12 hours, but I thought, oh my God, is this game ever going to end? And the great thing about it is you don't need to have like 4 or 5 tables pushed together to get the whole thing on the table because it's a video game.
Well, the original Ogre, you didn't need 4 or 5 tables in order to play it.
True.
Just one really big table.
No, the original Ogre was a micro game. It was one of the first micro games that came out.
Oh, I guess I didn't remember the original being a micro game.
Oh, you didn't remember? Oh, yeah, the original was a $2 micro game.
Really? I did not remember that at all.
Yeah, I saw
was that
copies of the original edition.
Was that a TSR one back in the day?
No, it was metagaming.
Okay.
And then after Metagame went out of business, it fell back to the author, which is where Steve Jackson, which is why Steve Jackson Games publishes it now.
Okay. Interesting.
But then again, that is kind of like Tales from Mechanical Leap, Tomb of Annihilation. They did a really good job. If you've ever played Tabletop Ogre, this feels like you're playing Tabletop Ogre, so they did a great job with it. And it's I said available on Steam now. Look for a review coming soon-ish. I have a lot of reviews in the pipeline. As you'll tell when I talk about Tabletop, because I did play some Tabletop games. I played Apocrypha, The World, which is a new adventure card game that is from Lone Shark Games. They are the same people that did the Pathfinder card game. This is basically the Pathfinder card game, but set in like a horror-type world where there's zombies, vampires, ghosts, demons, and it's like you are the only person that can kind of see what's going on. Most people think the world is just the normal world, but you actually see the world for what it is. So that is Apocrypha. Look for a complete review of that coming at some point. And Dragonspire. That is another card game that is out based on a Dungeons & Dragons license. Look for a review of that coming out soon. Lots of reviews. If I can find the time to write them.
All right.
I found the time to play them. I just got to find the time to actually do the reviews. And then the only other thing in gaming I did was I actually played some Dungeons & Dragons 5e.
Woo!
And I did it all by my lonesome.
What? There's actually a solo module for 5e?
There is. It's up on the DM's Guild right now. It is called the Death Knight Squire. It is a complete solo adventure. There is 2 books for it. There is the adventure book, and then there is a map book. It's sort of kind of like a choose-your-own adventure in a way, because you roll the dice, and then you pick what you're going to do, and then you have to look at the other book to see the result and stuff. It works really well. It's really super fun, and it's a great way to scratch the 5e itch. If you don't have a group of people to play with, you can actually play 5e solo.
I remember I have one of the original first edition solo modules that got released. Midnight on Dagger Alley was the name of it, and what it came with is one of those sort of red cards. It was kind of like a clear red plastic, and they used to release, like the map itself had this kind of red ink overlay, and you'd put this plastic sheet over it, and it would color match, so it would basically remove that overlay so that you could see what was on underneath, almost like an invisible ink style thing.
Yeah.
And you could go through the module that way as a solo dungeon. They released a couple of them there, and it was always pretty interesting.
That's the only one of them that I ever got, and was one of the interesting things on it is they tailored it for 3 different classes, and the adventure goes different ways depending on which class you were.
Yeah.
Because if you're the monk, you're doing something very, very lawful in there, of course. If you're the assassin, you're trying to kill someone. If you're the rogue, you're trying to get some stuff. Yeah, I still have that one. I played it some under 3E rules.
Oh, neat.
And that was my week. So, Pineleaf, how about you? What were we up to, and what did you do?
Well, we will then begin with my Dragonborn Artificer, who was level 4 at the time. I started out with Stand Your Ground. In other words, I was doing the Sharn Syndicate. So I started out with Stand Your Ground, and when I opened up the chest, the Mimic that was released fell off the ledge.
What happened to me?
Yeah, started bouncing over and then it fell off the ledge, which made it easy to take care of the Mimic. Then, of course, I did Dirty Laundry and Stormreaver Fresco. And those I did alone. I did the next 2 with you. That was Repossession and the Bookbinder Rescue. So we did those together. And, of course, the Bookbinder Rescue is one of those that if you're playing an Artificer, boy, is it easy.
I bet.
Yeah. And then Come Out and Slay, then I did by myself later on. Now, in the harbor with Drac, we did Irestone Inlet, and I don't know how I missed doing that, but I think it's because it said this is a really challenging one, and so I believed them when they said that.
Yeah, that's because how this came about. If you listened to the show last week, I talked about I ran Irestone Inlet, and Pineleaf's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "I know we ran this." And he was like, "I've never run this." So see, now he can say he ran it.
Yes.
You should remember Irestone Inlet. It has one of the highest chest per dungeon ratios in the entire game.
Yeah, that's what I told him. But for some reason, he has never ran it until now, which I find just amazingly shocking that could even take place.
I wonder you didn't get your Mimic stuff.
Yeah, see? I'm telling you. When the Mimic Hunt is on, Irestone Inlet's the way to go. Quick, easy, fun. Lots of chest.
Very well. And then we also together did the 4 quests for House Beneath, where we went to the depths of despair and then went one each to the other, because I think we had some hirelings running out. So, of course, we wanted to make sure we jumped from module to module so that you go through there directly without losing your hirelings.
And I always forget those quests. I run them all the time, but I forget how much I like those quests.
Yeah,
those are just awesome, fun, well-designed dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I forget that until I get around to running again when I'm of level, and I'm like, man, I like these dungeons.
Yeah, and you have pretty much your choice of running them as 4 separate short adventures or as one longer adventure altogether.
Yeah, and I usually just run them all one right after the other. Because really they don't take that. I mean, they're a little bit longer, but they don't take that long to run all 4, I don't think.
Not really, because I think we were coming near the end of our run there. So, okay, I wonder if we've got time to... And we not only had time to do all 4 of them, but we had time to do a couple of... Because I think we did the 2 Sharn Syndicate ones after we did that.
Yeah, we did.
So we not only had time to do those 4, we had time to do another 2 Sharn ones afterwards. Then in the marketplace alone, I did Missing in Action, and then Fresh in the Air. And Fresh in the Air is one of those dungeons where I think the first time I tried to do it years ago, when I got in there on how you actually entered the dungeon, I was trying to figure out how do you get in here. So I don't think I was able to figure out how to enter. It's because I was also playing an Artificer back then. And of course, the door you use in order to enter it can't be opened with a crossbow. You have to smash it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So therefore, I didn't realize that back at that time. So therefore, I was going in there, and I had thought that in order to enter it, I had to climb up instead of going down. And therefore, since I couldn't figure out how to climb up, I just gave up and spent the next 4 years not doing the quest.
Night Pun in the chat is perfectly summing up the last 150 episodes of this podcast. He says, Drac still gets shocked by Pineleaf not knowing something that Drac thinks he expects him to know about. That's just a staple of the show. And it's true. Very true. It is.
And then I went into House Filaran because I was getting really close to level 5. And I decided, all right, I had to do one more quest, and I'll get to level 5. So I went to House Filaran and ran Rest for the Restless. And that was
another fun quest. I love that quest.
Yes. And that brought my level 5. It brought me to level 5 with my Artificer, so I was able to match the level that I got on my favorite soul, because my favorite soul, I was like, Now, in Minecraft, I decided to join the Minecraft Monthly Challenge. I think I spoke of it a little bit last week where I talked about we're supposed to do stuff with igloos. And so therefore, I went and I finally found the igloo in episode 3 in there, and I went downstairs, did some work on there because there was a poor villager that was zombified down there, so I was trying to help him. And I noticed that there must have been a cave around here because there were this horde of zombies behind the wall where whoever chose that seed, Michael Deering probably, he must have been sadistic when he found this thing and say, oh, we will give the coordinates to an igloo where you have this pair of villagers that are going to be just a wall's thickness away from a horde of zombies. I had decided that, all right, I'm going to have to do something about these zombies, so I tried to crack open the wall, and as soon as I cracked open that thing, one of those baby zombies flew out of them. And if you know anything about Minecraft, you know that baby zombies are twice as tough, twice as fast, and twice as mean as the adult ones. And it just came out and went whack, whack, whack,
yep.
Dead. And
they're harder to hit too.
Right? Yeah, they're hard to hit too. And this is the monthly hardcore challenge, which means I'm playing in hardcore for the first time ever in Minecraft. When you're dead, essentially is what that means.
And you decided to go against a bunch of zombies?
Well, I was thinking that if I just opened up one block, I would be able to hit the zombies. The zombies won't be able to get to me, and I could clear the area. Forgetting that baby zombies were a thing. and that they can go through one block high areas. Well, anyway, I guess better luck next month.
You can say you learned something that day.
Yeah, I learned something that day, yes. I was wondering how but there was something cool that did happen. Is after I got killed, and I decided, all right, after getting killed, I was given the choice between deleting the world or going into spectator mode so I could at least see what I did in there. I decided to go into spectator mode and talk about, since I'm doing this for YouTube, I was giving my summary of how I felt I did for the month of October's challenge, which surviving only a third of the way through and getting killed is probably not exactly doing well in a challenge. And during that time, it says, Achievement unlocked, Zombie Doctor. So therefore, I managed to complete one of the major achievements in the game while dead.
Nice.
And I figured that the goal of the month was to do something cool with the igloo, and I figure what could be cooler than finishing up a major achievement while dead? I can't get much cooler than that, I figure. But, of course, I still didn't last 9 episodes, so obviously not quite successful mission there. And then in Wellstopia, in my multiplayer world, I wrangled some cattle. And I had this thing where all the cattle that were left on the island were on the other side of a mountain. And I was figuring out, how was I going to get those cattle over this mountain? Because those cattle were just refusing to follow and all that stuff. And I eventually thought that, wait, if you cannot bring cattle over the mountain, then just dig a tunnel right through the mountain. And that's what I did in the end. I just tunneled all the way through, and it came out onto actually an area that I was hoping to someday to have a road to anyway. And there were plenty of cattle there that I was able to bring through, and I had this nice, straight, easy shot right through a tunnel there. So therefore, yes, if you want to move cattle over a mountain, I say, why go over? Why not just go through it? Then for Tabletop, I created a new YouTube series called Pine Leaf on Board, which is going to focus on single-player and cooperative games. The first game I covered was Onirim. Now, these are games that have video versions on them that are on Steam. So
that's what I was about to ask. Now, you talk about like video game versions of board games. You're actually going to play board games. Okay.
Yeah, so episode 1, the first game covered is Onirim, and I covered the base game on that one. Later episodes, I will probably have some later episodes to cover some of the expansions on that. Though I have a feeling that the next episode may be going through some jungles.
Maybe.
Really. So, Cordovan, what have you been up to when not working on things like things you can't tell us about?
Yeah, well, I've been putting in a lot of hours this past week, so a lot of that. But I also had a lot of pen and paper and a lot of DDO. I wanted to get lots of Mimic tokens, and I didn't want to exploit to do it. So I did a lot of Mimic hunting. And I, too, hit up Irestone Inlet quite a few times. Keep in mind, it's 5 times per character. And
see, I forgot it was per character.
Yeah,
so darn it.
And the tokens are account bound. So,
yeah, see?
I ran Irestone Inlet quite a few times. But on top of that, I actually did find a few other good recommendations that I would pass along for future Mimic hunts. Shanticor. I didn't really think of Shanticor as a good option, but man, did there are a lot of chests in Shanticor. And it's really not that difficult a quest either. So especially if you have, like, say, some Mimic bait or something like that you don't mind using, you can get a lot of stuff from Shanticor. I also hit up the Waterworks, quite a few chests in the wilderness area there, along with the quests themselves, and Tangleroot. Maybe a little less on the time per chest ratio, but it was also really good XP, and there are quite a few chests in Tangleroot as well. When Update 36 Patch 2 came out, I TR'd my level 20 Paladin Dragonborn into a Dragonborn Cleric because I wanted to take advantage of the new domains. And I've gone War Domain, and that's been pretty awesome. And it'll be even more awesome when we fix the bug, which we will be doing, I believe, in Patch 3, where it's not properly granting martial and exotic proficiency. But normally, it grants proficiency as a cleric with all martial and exotic weapons. All exotic weapons. So, if you want to be a cleric wielding a Khopesh and not give up a feat for it, the War Domain might be pretty good. It also gets you a lot of melee and ranged power and things like that. So, yeah, that was pretty hot. And so my Dragonborn cleric, former paladin, is healing enough to keep the party alive and all that, but I'm also being a bit of a battle cleric this time around, and so far it's been going really good. I've got, nice high AC with, just heavy armor and all the rest. And I'm not getting hit much, and I've been running everything on Elite. Currently level 6. Just got level 6 last night on that character. So that's mostly what I've been doing on DDO, is I was really just TRing and then running up that cleric to level 6 and doing a lot of Mimikant stuff. Then on the tabletop there, I had a Tuesday night Roll20 campaign that I'm in. I also had a every other Tuesday post-work session with Flimsy Firewood and Eladrin and a couple other people. Flimsy Firewood is a game designer. He's also a DDO dungeon dev, making a bunch of stuff for Ravenloft. You interviewed him not that long ago for his Gatekeepers board game, but he's doing another one. And it's a little bit like a space western style, and it uses sort of exploding dice and a hex grid. Exploding dice, if you're familiar with Shadowrun or whatever, you roll 2 5s, it counts as a 10, that kind of thing. And it's like hex grid, and it's a cool roll system, and just like Flimsy, it's always got its quirks and all that sort of thing too. So the idea is you draw like your spaceship in hexes, and that's what it looks like, so you can kind of determine how things work by how you draw them and all that. And that's been a pretty fun system, and we're Flimsy is building the system from the ground up right now, so we're still in early beta testing with it. But me and Eladrin and a couple other peeps get together every other Tuesday to just kind of bang through the rules, figure out what works, what doesn't, what should be changed, and then we iterate on it. And eventually Flimsy will get it into a state probably similar to Gatekeepers that he'll end up doing something with it. But it's been a lot of fun. So I'm currently playing the ship's cook, who is on board this particular ship because the last ship starved to death. And yes, he was the cook. And he's headless. He's a cyborg, and he doesn't have a head. He carries it with him. And his head has a magnet on the bottom, so it can stick to the sides of walls and things like that to get better views of things. So
Nice.
That's been fun. And then I'm, like I said, doing a Tuesday night Roll20 campaign, and that is, I guess technically it's Pathfinder 3.5, whatever you want to call it, open version 3.5. And so that's been pretty fun, too. And then I wrapped up my dungeon mastering. I did a 4-session campaign with Tolero and Zerka from the DDO team, along with their husband and or wife, depending. Actually, both husbands. Never mind. And then also someone else who doesn't have a forum name. And we've been running that for a while now, 4 sessions. And so that was really cool. That was a 5th edition campaign that I was running, and that turned out really pretty good. It was pretty fun. The name of the mini campaign was Size Matters, and it's basically them against a bunch of giants. These giants were living on the other side of a mountain and raiding human villages and all that sort of thing. And it took place in kind of a fictional setting of my own design. And they went over to the giant side and met King Roderick the Small, who was the fattest giant they've ever seen in their life, and defeated him. So that turned out pretty well. So it was fun. And then actually on Sunday I played D&D as well. That was a 3.5 edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign with, if anyone knows, sorry, I can't think of her forum name right now, the community manager for Current Turbine, working on Game of Thrones Conquest. I don't want to give out her real name, and I can't remember what her forum name is for that. So I guess I better not name her. But anyway, she's the dungeon master for that one, and I did that on Sunday as well, and that went pretty well too. That's, again, her particular campaign setting, and that's all 3.5 as well. And I'm playing a cleric of the Dead God is the name of the sect, and that went pretty well too. So yeah, actually a lot of DDO and a lot of pen and paper this past week, in addition to a lot of work.
Whee! We currently have 23 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to support DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of DDO Players News. This night, This week we have a featured comment from Evanote on the Commodore 64 C64 Mini coming next year. Shut up and take my money already. I am definitely getting one of these.
I hope you can add C64 ROMs to it. I know some of them are of questionable legality, but honestly, who's selling Commodore 64 games at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. That would be awesome if you could do ROMs.
But I noticed the list, it doesn't have Aztec Challenge, which was a really cool game. It doesn't have Bruce Lee, which was a really cool game.
Or Karateka, it doesn't have that.
It doesn't have Karateka or Bill's Toad
No,
or Captain Goodnight.
See?
Yeah.
You're speaking my childhood here again.
Yeah.
We also had a comment from Sally on our last episode. Great podcast as always. When you mentioned that Seb replied to a forum thread complaining about the mimics, I realized that was my thread. Woot! It's kind of weird to think y'all saw my thread. I lurk on the forums. I don't post very. I post in the fan section usually, but I don't. Well, sometimes I post in the other. But I'm a forum lurker, so I might talk about your post on the show. You're all warned.
Yeah. And we also got an email from Gumsgang, who wrote, the following message is in no way well informed. Read at your own risk. Hello, Jirak and Pineleaf. It's in the distance. You could almost smell it. The mists of Ravenloft. I love good-natured tinfoil hatting. The U36 Patch 3 Lamania preview has me mesmerized. I am going to assume we are going to follow the normal Daybreak publisher model for the older MMO expansion packages. You can see the expansion bundles forming, and it's looking like this. 1. Aasimar race, including in all expansion bundles and free to VIP. In good move.
Correct.
2. Visani Knife Fighter Tree. Part of the Deluxe, Ultimate, Super Spooky Special Bundle, and earnable via Ravenloft Favor. Fair move.
I like the Super Spooky Special Bundle. I like that.
3. Gold Seal Scarecrow Hirelings. Part of a Deluxe Bundles, as is customary. 4A. 1 cosmetic and 1 pet. Deluxe Bundle. 4B. 2 cosmetics and 2 pets. Strahd's Bestie Bundle.
That's awesome.
What do you think? I'm starting to get excited. Can you smell what SSG is cooking? Best wishes, Gumsgang, the Village Idiot. Oh, P.S. What's with the very dangerous Amazon pics on the website? My wallet is crying.
My evil plan has worked.
Well, then, I suppose one possibility is that there will be... But I know that a certain person here cannot confirm or deny anything I'm about to say. Is that could be like in the Lotro expansion for Mordor, where there could be 3 different levels, and that so it all depends on what the word summon is. So summing 2, and then a small number mean 1, and then all mean all 3. Whatever. We'll have to find out, of course.
Without confirming anything of what you're saying, we're going to do something very similar to how we did Mordor.
Okay.
Which is what I think everybody was assuming it would be similar to that model.
Yep.
So that's something to keep in mind. We won't know, of course, yet until they're ready for an official announcement. But if you would like to email us, such as Gumsgang just did, you can email us to podcast@ddoplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, DDO Players @DDO Players, Dracula @Dracula_72, and Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles. And Cordovan, how can they reach you?
You can find me as Cordovan on the DDO forums. I read every private message that's sent to me. I do get a lot of them, so I don't always reply, but I do read everything sent to me. You can also follow DDO Unlimited on Twitter. You can find Dungeons & Dragons on online on Facebook at facebook.com/DDO Unlimited. We're also twitch.tv/DDO stream, and we have a pretty open calendar right now. People come and go over time from the live stream, and we're kind of on a go time right now where we have a lot of open slots. So if you are interested in streaming DDO on DDO stream, let me know, and I would be, provided you've got a basic level of competency and willingness to keep a regular schedule and don't swear on stuff or exploit, you'd be welcome on. So get in touch with me through the forums, Facebook or Twitter for that. Yeah, I guess that's it. My personal is twitter.com/Jerry Snook, JerrySnook.
Thank you for that. And the Players Alliance has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Locho Players News. Each one of our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pine Leaf Noodles reminding you to quest responsibly.